You're tuned into the right place. Welcome to the rain. Golden Queuing. H2.0. Yeah. You're looking for a diamond, found a treasure in the rough. Tired of all the noise, cause you finally had enough. I'm here to build a movement on a mission for the nation. Dropping gems of knowledge, killing all the hesitation. We fighting for the truth, yeah, we fighting for what's right. Building unity and shining up a brand new light. It's a variety channel, but the vision's crystal clear. Pushing us all forward, conquering the doubt and fear.
Welcome to the Queendom, it's 2.0 on your screen, where the content's real and smart and funny in between. This is more than just a stream, it's a platform for the change. Time to elevate the game and rearrange. If you're ready for a vibe that you can feel and trust, joining in the movement is a definite must.
This ain't just another channel talking smack behind the screen. It's a spotlight for the creators, building up a better scene. Spreading radical love, that's the message in the code. Helping everybody carry up a heavy load. From social justice issues to the laughter that we need. Planting seeds of progress, watch them grow from just a seed. This is authentic, this is raw, this is everything you saw. Welcome to the battle that is truly being fought.
Ooh, so come with your respect and see the real effect. Cause I protect my own right here on the throne. Don't make me envy. Unleash the dragon.
Subscribe, ring that notification bell. Yeah, you don't wanna miss a thing. Welcome to the family. Yeah.
You're the Fed. Funny, I don't see the credentials. Just a vulture invest. While watching work. You're playing agent, lurking in the digital shade, acting like the moral ice, checking papers you didn't mean. Tired and the vulnerable, trying to deport them from the screen, but you're the only criminal in this little scene. You rate a private life like you got a signed decree, but you're just a parasite, thirsty for the fee. Stalking through the shadows, checking back, right, taking notes while you're choking on the bitterness that's rising in your throat. No jurisdiction, just a twisted little whim, tearing down a life just to see if they can swim. You're policing the community, no, you're just a pest, putting regular people to a fake-ass litmus test. Check 'em. Call yourself a YouTuber race. Dream you're just harassment on a leash. No badge, no rise, you're just a clown. No badge, no rise, I'll shut you down. You're playing nice, trying to clear the border, but you're the chaos, honey, I'm the law and order. Show me your history, show me your past, build a digital wall, hope the view's gonna last. You're doxing the address, you're calling up the boss, a regular patriot, counting up the loss, but you got no authority, no precinct, no cell, just a comment section version of a living hell. You're an unlicensed hunter with a fragile little ego, trying to play the hero as the warrant to me go. Tell me so. Where is it? It's becoming a mess. A bunch of vigilantes in a neon-lit dress. You're cleansing the platform, you're just spreading the stain. You're the ice of the internet, causing nothing but pain. Wait for it. You got no jurisdiction here! Call yourself the police. Keep dreaming. You're just harassment on a leash. No badge, no rights, you're just a clown. No badge, no rights, I'll shut you down. You're playing nice, trying to cross the border, but you're the chaos, honey, I'm the law and order. You just the grace of your clothes.
Hey y'all, what's up? What's up? What's up? It's your girl Golden. I'm back with another live, y'all. We got some interesting things that I'm going to be covering on this live. Something, tad a little different, but we getting into all of it over here. Today I said, you know what? Maybe we'll take a little break away from like the political and the world news stuff because that can get heavy a little bit at a time. And, it can take a toll on our feelings and emotions. But I thought it would be rather necessary to do a live, maybe a little bit of history. You know what I mean? Kind of fun. I'm kind of geeky like that. I like history. I don't know if y'all are like that as well. So we got a few things we're going to talk about today. Two topics that I think are very interesting, and y'all might be surprised how close these topics are to some things that we may or may have not been seeing, not just on YouTube and social media platforms, but in the world, period, right? And how history does sometimes tend to repeat itself. But anyway, y'all, it's about 3:30 p.m. here in the afternoon in the United States, Eastern time, and it's nice outside, y'all. It's a bit chilly, but the sun is shining like really, really bright, and it always puts me in like such a great mood. And so, yeah, the weather here is nice. I hope y'all having good weather where y'all are at, and I hope you're having a good day where you are. We're almost to Friday, y'all. So we about made it through the week. So whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, or night for you guys, wherever you are at, I hope you are having a great day and you are doing well. You and your family, your friends, and your people are doing well. So let me go ahead and give y'all a brief synopsis of what we'll be talking about on this live today. If y'all can see a little bit from the thumbnail and the title, but we're going to be taking a little bit of a dive into some archives and look at two women who changed history through the power of their word and their position. On this live, we will be discussing Annie Palmer, the legendary quote unquote White Witch of Rose Hall, and we'll also be talking about the infamous Carolyn Bryant Donham, the woman who is behind the tragedy with Emmett Till. But this, y'all, isn't just a history lesson. We are correlating their moves to what a lot of we seeing today playing out in YouTube, social media platforms, in our communities, and even in our local neighborhoods. From weaponized victimhood to the Karen phenomenon, the spirit of the false accuser is still active, y'all. And it's time to expose those patterns, arm ourselves with the truth, and protect our communities and our friends and families from the snakes in the grass. So let's go ahead and give a little bit of background of each individual. So first, we'll be talking about Annie Palmer. Quote unquote, this is what they call her, the White Witch, right? So this is the legend. This person was born in Haiti and schooled in voodoo. Annie moved to Jamaica and married John Palmer, owner of Rose Hall. She was said to be a beautiful but lethal seductress. Legends claim that she unalived 3 husbands and numerous enslaved lovers, often disposing of them through magic or physical violence. She supposedly watched the torture of enslaved people from her balcony with glee in her heart. In the end, she was strangled in her bed by an enslaved man named Teku, whose magic was just a bit stronger than hers. But we'll get into that story, and y'all know I have some videos and audios to play for y'all, per usual. Now, here's the historical reality, the truth of it all. Most of the White Witch story was popularized in 1929 novel. Historical records show the real Annie Palmer, Annie Mary Patterson, was a Jamaican-born woman who did not unalive her husbands. The legend was often used to attract tourists, but the real witchcraft was the system of slavery itself. The moves here were about absolute power and using a terrifying reputation to keep people from revolting. Now, we also going to be talking about, like I said, which many people may know, Carolyn Bryant Donham. So, in 1955, 21-year-old Carolyn Bryant accused 14-year-old Emmett Till of whistling at her grabbing her and making unprintable advances at her store in money in Mississippi. Her husband and his brother then decided to kidnap and torture Emmett Till, and they also lynched him. They were acquitted when it came to the courts by a all Caucasian jury. Carolyn was protected by a society that viewed white female purity as something to be defended with blood, even if the victim, her, was lying and not telling the truth. Decades later, she reportedly admitted to an author that the physical and the verbal threats that she claimed were not true. She lied. She lived to be 88 years old. She passed along in 2023, and she never served any time, despite an unserved arrest warrant being found in a basement as recently as 2022. As they dug up, her estate and went through her home, they did find that warrant there. But she did live her life in the shadows, never fully held accountable for the spark she lit. So, what can we talk about here? We can make a comparison about then and now, right? But we'll get into that after I show y'all a little bit of these videos so you can see exactly what it is we're talking about today. So, I'm going to go ahead and let y'all decide. Put a 1 in the chat if you want to hear about, excuse me, y'all. If y'all want to hear about Carolyn Bryant first, or put a 2 in the chat if you want to hear about Annie Palmer first. And then y'all can decide which one we'll start off with. And as we watch these together, we can talk about it in the chat per usual. Hello, Asher. How are you doing, Asher? Thank you for coming in. Let me go ahead and say hi to everybody. So what's up, Star? Thanks for coming in, girl. Hey, Imani. Thanks for coming in, girl. And then Dropping the T came in. What's up, Dropping the T? And then Asher come in now. So thank you for coming in, everybody. Thank y'all for joining. Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody doing? I hope y'all are doing well, like I said earlier. But yeah, we're just doing a quick little history lesson here today. So, just a few interesting things that I wanted to talk about. Imani says, I know Rose Hall really well. The hotel was taken over and is now part of the Rui chain. Oh, wow. Okay. So that's some historical place that you've been to or you visited. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Yes, hello, Asher. Hello, Dropping the T. What's up? Hey, Star, what's up? So which one do y'all want to hear about first? Or y'all really just don't care? We could just get it started, y'all. It don't matter. Let's start with the less known. Let's start with the less known and then go into, of course, what most of us probably, I would assume, know a little bit of history about. Because honestly, when it comes to Annie Palmer, I'm going to be real with y'all. I did not know very much about Annie Palmer in this history. And so, I like to do these type of things where we can learn together, y'all. And when I watched it through, I said, pretty interesting here, And this is what it is when it comes to education and history and all of that. It's sometimes a lot of things that we don't know, And we never get too old to learn. It's never too late to learn. And sometimes it's fun to do it together. And very telling. So let's go ahead and get into this first video, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and play this one for y'all. This is the dark and disturbing tale of the White Witch of Rose Hall, Annie Palmer. And it's not too long. I have 2 for each person. So 2 for Annie and 2 for Carolyn. So this is the first one for Annie. It's only about 14 minutes for this first one. So let's go ahead and put this on the screen. And we'll get into this. Let's watch it together, y'all, and talk about it in the chat. Hold on. Okay, let me take down this. 1 second. Here we go. All right, so y'all can see that, right? Okay, let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to listen to this together. Let me go ahead and press play. I'm going to meet y'all in the chat.
Hey everyone, before we explore today's story, a big thanks to today's sponsor Skillshare. Skillshare is an amazing online community where you can explore new skills, develop existing interests, and get lost in creativity. With thousands of excellent courses, there is something for everyone, with topics ranging from lifestyle, productivity, entrepreneurship, and so much more. A course I am loving at the moment is Productivity for Creatives. Build a system that brings her. She subsequently became intimately associated to Skillshare Premium. Hey everyone, today we are looking into the life and legend of Annie Palmer, a woman who in the 19th century became intimately associated with acts of what were described as voodoo and witchcraft at Rose Hall Manor on the island of Jamaica. She subsequently became known as the White Witch of Rose Hall. Here we explore her alleged crimes and whether they had any basis in actual fact. The woman who later became known as the White Witch of Rose Hall was born as Annie Patterson somewhere in Britain in 1802 to an English mother and an Irish father. Her exact birthplace is unclear, and some accounts suggest she was born in Scotland. Annie's family soon moved to Haiti when Annie was around 9 or 10 years of age. At that time, a part of the island of Hispaniola, which had experienced extreme political and social unrest in the 1790s and 1800s, largely owing to its origins as a French sugar colony, which could not be controlled from Paris during the French Revolutionary Wars and Napoleonic Wars which followed. Shortly after the arrival of the family in Haiti, Annie's parents died from yellow fever, a tropical disease with symptoms similar to jaundice. Thereafter, Annie was allegedly raised by her nanny, who was a voodoo priestess at a time when Haiti was a central home of voodoo. However, just over 6 or 7 years later, Annie was again struck by loss when this nanny died, leaving her essentially fully orphaned in a Caribbean world, which was so different to Britain, where she had spent her first 10 years. It was in these circumstances that Annie Patterson set off for Jamaica. Unlike Haiti, which was originally settled as a French colony, Jamaica had been under English control since the mid-17th century, when the Cromwellian government conquered it from the Spanish. As such, Patterson, as an English-born woman, might have decided that she would be more at home here. Jamaica, like elsewhere in the Caribbean, was settled along slave plantation lines, generally with a small minority of European colonists who ran large-scale plantations producing cash crops, principally sugar, and based on the labor of large numbers of enslaved people. Yet at the time, Annie would have had no clue that her move to Jamaica in the long run would lead to the creation of the infamous tale of the White Witch, and it was all intimately associated with the manor of Rose Hall. The manor of Rose Hall had been built during the 1770s by a senior member of the colonial community in Jamaica, John Palmer, at the same time that Jamaica was flooding in colonial money and many rich and lavish plantation houses were emerging. It was erected on the site of an earlier colonial residence, one which had previously been known as Rose Hall, after the mistress of the household, Rosa Kelly. The house is a vast estate and is considered by many observers to be the finest plantation or colonial manor house ever built on the island of Jamaica during the early modern period. Rosa Kelly subsequently became John Palmer's wife, the latest of multiple nuptials for both Rosa and John. It should be noted here that there is no suspicion that either John Palmer or Rosa Kelly were murdered, an important point given the later allegations against Annie Palmer. Rosa herself died in 1790, and John Palmer passed away 7 years later in 1797. A further wife, which John had taken in the early 1790s after Rosa's death, subsequently returned to England and lived a long life there until the mid-1840s. Thus, these individuals had died or left Jamaica years, even decades before Annie Patterson ever arrived there. The wider Palmer family were, in general, back in England and lived a comfortable life there on the back of the profits gleaned from their Jamaican plantation. However, one member of the dynasty, John Rose Palmer, a nephew of John Sr. and elected to live on and manage the estate in Jamaica, following their deaths in the 1790s. He was still there in 1818 when Annie Patterson arrived to the island. They soon met and married. Thus, Annie Patterson became Annie Palmer and became the mistress of Rose Hall, a large plantation estate. And with this, the myth of the White Witch would soon follow. According to legend, Annie is believed to have employed magic from the very early beginnings of her arrival in Jamaica. For instance, it is suggested, according to certain myths about her life, that when she met John Palmer and realized that he was the owner of a large plantation estate, she cast a spell on him in order to entrance him into marrying her. So, the first part of the myth of the White Witch is that Annie Patterson became the mistress of Rose Hall and Annie Palmer by invoking magic against John Palmer. Then, having married John and inveigled her way to a position of prominence at Rose Hall, Annie is believed to have quickly conspired to dispense with her new husband entirely in order to obtain sole control over Rose Hall. Shortly after they were wed and had settled down to married life at the manor, Annie is believed to have poisoned John and killed him in order to obtain control of the plantation. Other spurious accounts suggest she poisoned extended members of the Palmer family as well at this time, many of whom, as we previously saw, had been deceased due to natural causes for years, in some cases as much as 20 or more years. Not long after this, it is believed that Annie married again, this time to an English planter whom it is rumoured that she also killed in quick succession, this time by stabbing him to death. A third marriage is believed to have developed and ended similarly in the months or years that followed. On this occasion, the White Witch is alleged to have used one of the enslaved men on the plantation to strangle this most recent husband to death. In both instances, it is supposed in different accounts of her life that Annie profited from killing these subsequent husbands, in the same way she had become the sole mistress of Rose Hall by murdering John Palmer. In the years after she took over, Annie is alleged to have ruled the plantation in a heavy-handed and indeed sadistic fashion. She was said to have whipped the enslaved people there and tortured them, even putting some to death. Moreover, elements of her past years in Haiti were incorporated into the story. Some accounts, for instance, suggesting that Annie engaged in voodoo practices, which were, both then as now, intimately associated with Haiti. Perhaps most graphically, Annie was said to have had the basement of Rose Hall refurbished and turned into a dungeon of sorts, where she would carry out her acts of torture. Most savagely, it was even rumoured that the White Witch had murdered the children of some of the enslaved plantation workers at Rose Hall, and then harvested their bones for use as a species of compound in her black magic spells. While there are many myths and varying stories about Annie's behaviour, most agree that the White Witch finally met her demise when she ended up in a conflict with a former enslaved man named Taku, whom she had previously taken as a lover. Palmer is said to have murdered one of Taku's relatives, and he is then supposed to have killed her in retaliation, using a mix of black magic and physical force. Another version of events is less dramatic, and simply asserts that Taku became angered with the White Witch as a result of her having taken another lover from amongst the other enslaved workers, and consequently, Taku simply strangled her in her sleep. A third version of the story states that it was Taku's son-in-law who was involved in her murder. But the tale doesn't end there. Various versions claim that in the months and years following her death, Annie's spirit continued to roam the manor and grounds of Rose Hall, terrorizing the slaves and servants whom she now sought to punish for having failed to protect her in life. This was despite the fact that the enslaved plantation workers had conducted a voodoo ritual to try and ensure that she could not strike at them from beyond the grave. Such tales persisted for decades and implied that, for years after her death, the spirit of Palmer continued to roam and haunt the manor of Rose Hall on Jamaica. Thus, the killer White Witch was now a ghostly entity, possibly seeking revenge even after death. So, could any of this myth of the White Witch have any basis at all in reality? The answer is largely no. In reality, Annie Palmer and John Palmer left Rose Hall shortly after they were married, around 1820. Despite the grandeur of the manor, the estate had run into massive financial problems in the early 19th century, as slavery was gradually prohibited and then banned entirely throughout Britain's colonial possessions. As this occurred, John Palmer eventually ended up passing ownership of the manor of Rose Hall to his creditors, and he and Annie left the estate entirely. Not a lot is known about what they did thereafter, while the manor of Rose Hall was actually abandoned for about 130 years, until it was re-edified and reoccupied during the mid-20th century. This raises the question as to why the myth of the White Witch emerged to begin with, and there is a relatively direct answer to this question. In 1868, a story was published about the first owner of Rose Hall, Rose Palmer, who lived decades before Annie Palmer ever arrived on the scene. Like the myth of Annie, Rose Palmer had multiple husbands and had been largely in charge of Rose Hall. Over the years that followed, additional details were added which subsequently furthered the myth of the White Witch. Most significant in this regard was a book on local Jamaican history which was published in 1911, and a novel in 1929 which complemented the myth of the White Witch. In the latter instance, a century had passed since the time of Palmer's supposed misdeeds, and there was nobody left around to argue against these untruths. Thus, the book, which was published in 1929 as a work of fiction, and was not meant to be interpreted as a piece of accurate historical reportage, entered into the record as a piece of pseudo-history. Nevertheless, while the true story of Annie Palmer is well known today, many people in Jamaica still consider Rose Hall to be a haunted house, and there are numerous stories of the manor house being haunted by a figure dressed in green velvet, early 19th century clothing, haunting the lands of the manor and plantation. In other versions, a woman in white wanders around the house, while further accounts still record how screams can regularly be heard from Rose Hall at night, especially in the basement, which Annie is said to have converted into a dungeon, but which today is a gift shop at what has become a tourist site. Thus, while the myth of Annie Palmer and the White Witch of Rose Hall have been dismissed as nothing more than a tale, residual elements of the Jamaican horror story continue to be believed today, and it would seem with good reason. Thank you so much everyone for watching this video on Annie Palmer. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to let me know down in the comments what you thought about the legend. Do you think she still haunts the house? And what do you think about the legend surrounding her life? If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and a comment down below. And if you're new, want to subscribe. I hope you guys have notifications turned on so you get all my videos as soon as they're uploaded. And if you have any suggestions, be sure to leave them down in the comments or send them to my email.
All right, y'all. So that was just a quick run through, of the first video that I wanted to share with y'all when it comes to this story or this legend that I have never, really heard before. And I started doing the research on it after someone had brought it to my attention. I said, very interesting, very interesting. I really love history. I'm a history buff. Hey, Vantisha, thanks for coming in. Oh my gosh, she says it's safe over here today. It's always safe. It's always safe. Just sometimes, you gotta address them. But no, we're not doing that on this live today. On this one, where we at? We're just talking about this topic. Two different. And I know y'all are just coming in, so I will give you a recap of the synopsis as to what we're talking about, y'all. Two different female individuals, historical female individuals. Yeah, they do happen to be Caucasian. But yeah, we're talking about that and the history behind them. So before I do go back to the recap synopsis, let me just go ahead and read a few of these notes through here that I had, so basically we're talking about this one that we just watched, the White Witch, right? And the legend of Annie Palmer. And so this goes all the way back to the 1820s in Jamaica, to the Rose Hall plantation. The legend tells the Annie Palmer, the White Witch. The story says that she was schooled in the dark arts in Haiti and used that power to dominate her husband and the enslaved people that was on her land. She was a plantation wife. They say she ruled with an iron fist and a spirit that wasn't of this world necessarily, right? So, just to be very clear before we go on, I just want people to understand, and anybody who's listening, that we all have different backgrounds, we have different cultures, we have different spiritual walks and beliefs. So I just want to make sure, that I'm being respectful when it comes to that. So whether you're hearing this story or we're learning this history together and you believe the stories of the magic part are the literal truth, or whether you see it as a spiritual warning, or whether you think it was just a legend that was created to, make people scared or hide the real history, whatever your personal belief or the way you see it, that's okay. You know what I'm saying? That's welcome here, because we all can see things and perceive things differently as we read and we learn. We have our own ways of understanding the spiritual and the unseen. But what matters is that we look at the fruit of her actions, okay? So the truth behind the mask and all of this is that regardless what we believe about her powers, the historical reality was that this was a woman who used her absolute social position to dominate, manipulate, and destroy. Her moves were about control and deception, whether it was in the physical, spiritual, or psychological. She used what she had to keep people under her thumb. And I also want to play this so we can kind of bring a correlation to some things that have happened historically and some things that we're seeing to this current day. So the 2026 correlation, when it comes to, and I say it because y'all know I'm from the city, the streets in the world, right? That happened almost 200 years ago. But the same Annie Palmer energy, that spirit of the untouchable mistress, is walking the streets of our cities and sitting in our communities right now. Here is how that move looks in 2026. So when we're talking about these community gatekeepers, this mistress move, in the streets, we see in our neighborhoods, the person who acts like they own the block or they own the cul-de-sac, they decide who is good and who is bad. If you don't join their circle or bow to their authority, they start rumors. They use their status to turn the neighborhood against you. That is the Annie Palmer spirit, ruling the territory through fear and exclusion. We also see that there was a lot of character assassination in the world right now, as far as, the modern spell of it all. Let's get into that. So in the legend, Annie used the fear of magic to keep people in line. In 2026, it seems like that so-called magic can be misinformation. People don't need a ritual. They use a smartphone to assassinate people's characters. They cast spells of lies on people's names until even your own friends are afraid to even stand by you and support you. They use dark arts of social manipulation to make the innocent look like they're actually the villains. Then we got to get into the untouchable complex, the shield of status. So in our communities, right? If we talk about Annie got away with it because she was the lady of the house. Today we see people, even in our own circles, who do wrong and then hide behind their good reputation or their charity work. They think that they are untouchable. They hurt the vulnerable, and then they sit on their balcony or high horses watching the fallout while knowing the system is a slow clock. The system is slow to check them. Now, what is the conclusion from all of this? The energy of the false authority didn't die in Jamaica. It just changed clothes. It moved from the plantation to the suburban HOA. It moved from the overseers' whips to the anonymous reports. We see a world where people think they can play God with other people's lives because they have a little bit of clout. But remember, truth is the ultimate light. No matter what your spiritual or cultural belief is, we can all agree that right is right and wrong is wrong. We are here to stay awake. We are here to stay respectful of one another's beliefs and call out these type of mistresses that move whenever they try to take to the root. So that was a little bit of correlation between the past and the current. So anybody who is just coming in, like I said, what we are talking about, and I will go back up and give y'all a synopsis over again as far as what the entire live is about. We are talking about two women historically, right? And so the one we're playing first is Annie Palmer, aka the White Witch, okay? And then we also will be talking about Carolyn Bryant Donham. I know a lot of y'all might know that name, maybe not. She also was a woman that used her status and her privilege to cause extreme tragedy and harm to a Black young man, right? Emmett Till. We all know about Emmett Till. I would assume we know about that. So we're just digging into a little bit of the historical information when it comes to these two individuals. And you know how I do, y'all. I like to play and put together the pieces of the correlation of how, yeah, history does tend to repeat itself. It just sometimes looks different because we're in a different time and age, but a lot of the core actions are the same. So that's what this live and this video is about, with a little bit of historical background, but also us talking about how we can apply that and see the patterns here in the current. So before we get into the second video, when it comes to Annie Palmer, I'm playing two videos for each woman, and they're not long, y'all. This ain't going to be a long one. So they're two decently timed videos for each person that I'm going to play. I have a second one from Annie Palmer I'm going to play. But before we get into that, I'm going to take a quick little song break, y'all. I'm going to meet y'all in the chat, and we will be right back. We're going to get into that second video to give us a little bit more of education about Annie Palmer, White Witch. All right, y'all. We will be right back.
They watching, they scrolling, but they ain't living now. They bitter and obsessed. We see it, we impressed. You watching every move while we out here blessed. You bitter and obsessed. That envy in your chest. We winning, no stress. Two types, no contest. You're lurking in the dark with a phone and a grudge. Scrolling through our lives, but you show no love. Topic online, in person you hush. Shot that fake fire, whole vibe just dust. Study every move like a test, you gon' fail. Tryna copy sauce, but it ain't for sale. Like we leveled up, now you stuck in a trail. Rewinding our wins while your life goes stale. You don't want peace, you addicted to hate. Every post that we drop got you checking the date. Building fake stories, you feeding the fake. We eating good, you just starving in plates. You stress, we flex. You watch, we step. You stuck, we next. Big difference, no guess. They bitter and obsessed. We see it, we impressed. You watching every move while we out here blessed. You bitter and obsessed. That envy in your chest. We winning, no stress. Two types, no contest. Contest. Two types, no contest. Screenshot, zoom in, slow it down. Whole fan behavior, but you wear a frown. Say you don't care, but you lurking around. Jealous Olympics, you holding the crown. Fit the whole story in your head about us. Turn our shining to your therapy. Projecting pain and security. Loud, we move quiet, still stand out in the crowd. You bitter, don't twist it, we said it. That poison in your soul, you fed it. We up, we clear, no edit. You loop the same life, don't get it. Let them watch, let them talk. We evolve, don't stop. Energy rise, straight to the top. You can't fake elevation. Obsessed. Bitter. We winning. They triggered. Ha. They bitter and obsessed. We see it, we impressed. You watching every move. Now we are here blessed, bitter and obsessed. The envy in your chest. We winning, no stress. No two types, no contest. Hey. Two types, no contest. Two types of people. Ones that live, ones that watch. Stay over there.
All right, y'all. So I hope y'all like that song or not. A little bop for us to listen to. You know what I mean? Just to get our blood flowing and stuff. And I was reading through some of y'all comments and stuff. But yeah, that's literally all we're doing on this live today. We come in peace. We come in peace. I promise. And I'm reading y'all comments, so full of hate, not enjoying the joy. Yep. Just hating on other people. Yep. Absolutely. And hello to Be Love. Thank you for coming in, Be Love. Welcome. Blueberry. Thank you for coming in, Blueberry. Welcome. Star says Asha, I guess that's why she's trying to build a channel on mine and other shaman, but claims to have integrity. Yeah. Blueberry says I'm here for it. Polo like the music. Blueberry says bitter, yes. B Love says Star, Asher, Polo, hello. They need some honey for their bitter. Yeah, let's sweeten up the tea. Because the tea is a little bitter. I know about the tragedy of Emmett Till. I didn't know about Annie Palmer though. Yeah. I think most of us probably know more so about Carolyn when it comes to Emmett Till and not Annie. I didn't know about Annie. And then it was introduced to me, and then I did the research and stuff on it. I watched it. I said, wow. You know, some folks would benefit from visiting the African American Museum in DC. It's horrific, but it's real. Yeah, man, Tisha, yeah. I have a homeboy that lives in DC, and he loves going to the museum. That's one of his things, like museums is his thing. And he was telling me that's a really good museum to visit. So I'm going to try to take a trip there and see him at some point, get back up to the North Shore, but in the South. No, I'm just kidding. But if I get back with him and stuff, I'm going to tell him, I'm be like, yo, I want to go to the museum or whatnot. Because I like that. I like history. I like the sound of this one, Golden. Thank you, Blueberry. Golden said Droopy is like, well, Droopy has the, yeah, I cannot. I can't. Dropping it to you, you was dancing. You like this song. She dances like Trump. Oh my. Just discovered a movie made about her called The White Witch of Rose Hall 2016 short film. Oh, V Love 85 for real. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out then because you know they do have like random films and stuff sometimes that may not be like mainstream or pushed or advertised, but like on like Tubi and Netflix sometimes, and other streaming platforms, you sometimes can find like these, like I guess they would call them underground movies that do actually and are actually like connected to like some historical figures that a lot of us didn't know about. And when you watch the movie, you'd be surprised, because you'd be like, wow, I didn't know about this. But there are people that do know these things, and they're independent filmmakers, and they do make these films. You said it's a 16-minute short film. I have to check that out. I have to check it out. I don't think I can play it here because child, they'll try and get me. But I'll check that out on the TV or whatnot. Somebody's birthday. Wait, it say happy belated DTT. Happy belated birthday. Okay. Happy belated birthday. Who's DTT? Oh, dropping the T. Child, look, I'm slow as hell. Dropping the T. Yeah, girl. Happy birthday, girl. Happy belated birthday. I hope you had a great birthday. Wait, it's all month, right? What? What's all month? Yeah. Not my birthday till the 30th, but thanks. Oh, okay. So it's not belated, y'all. It's coming up. We got a few days. But yeah, dropping the T. Your birthday coming up. That's great, girl. I hope you have some really fun plans and you get to, enjoy yourself. Because I know, We do a lot of hard work, child. We be on these platforms. We got these babies and these families and stuff. And sometimes it's just like you don't get enough time for yourself, you know? You're just always in go mode. Go, 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 go. Busy, busy, busy. So hopefully, girl, you get to do something fun for your birthday and have a little bit of, you know, fun time just for you. And that'll be on the 30th. So dropping the T's birthday will be on the 30th. Okay, cool. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and get into this next video. Y'all know I ramble, so I apologize. And this one, again, this is about Annie Palmer as well. But this is a another, you know, another person that brought some information in that's more deeper, you know. It's from the University Center Telford, Dr. Louise Fenton. Okay. Now this is a long one, so we will not be playing all of this, but we'll skip through a little bit and play some and talk about it as we go. They get into it a little bit more deeper, you know what I mean? So let's go ahead and play this together and watch it together, y'all. And I'm gonna meet y'all in the chat. And then after this, we'll be moving on to Carolyn, you know, with Emmett Till and that. And then we'll get into some of the correlations with that as well to current daytime. So let's
welcome to tonight's lecture by Dr. Louise Fenton. And the lecture tonight is The Legend of Annie Palmer and Rose Hall. And we're especially delighted to welcome Orton Centre based in Telford, which has been a huge benefit. So just before I introduce Louise formally and hand over to her, I just wanted to let you know that there will be an opportunity to ask questions at the end of Louise's talk. And there's a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen if you're on a laptop or a desktop. And if you are using a mobile, it will be in the top right-hand corner. So if you could use the Q&A, and I will be looking through that as we go through the talk, and then we'll pose the questions live to Louise. So just to introduce Louise to those of you who don't know her, she's a cultural historian, illustrator and writer. She has a BA and an MA in illustration from the University of Wolverhampton, and she completed her PhD on the representations of voodoo at the University of Warwick in 2010. She's now a senior lecturer in contextual studies at the university, and her recent research has focused on the visual and literary representations of otherness and the social history.
First of all, and what this talk is going to cover. So Rose Hall is an estate in Jamaica, previously a plantation that made rum and sugar. And Annie Palmer was a 19th century woman who found herself in charge of Rose Hall. She was reputed to have been a cruel and vicious mistress, and was even given the title the White Witch of Rose Hall, but not in her lifetime. It was also alleged, and I put that in inverted commas, she was taught Vodou in Haiti and took this knowledge with her to Jamaica. Annie Palmer has permeated popular culture, featuring in fictional literature, plays, music, and even featured in Miss Universe in 2019. Any search on the internet will throw up the malicious act and her legacy. But are these accusations either accurate or fair? No. There is some mystery surrounding Annie Palmer, but tonight I hope to give you the facts about Annie and Rose Hall and the historical confusions, and show how one story, how misrepresentations and vilification of one woman can influence the rewriting of history and persecute Annie Palmer in much the same way as women have been persecuted for witchcraft through the centuries. I called this talk, I titled it The Legend of Annie Palmer and Rose Hall, and for the purposes of clarification, I'm using the definition of legend as a traditional story, sometimes popularly regarded as historical, but not authenticated. And that seems the most appropriate for this talk. So it's going to be in three parts. First of all, I'm going to tell you about Rose Hall and a little bit about the story of Annie Palmer that you would hear if you went as a tourist. The second part, I'm going to talk about the actual history of Rose Hall and the women who lived there. And then finally, the third part will look at and examine how the stories and the horrendous acts that she's accused of evolved and how they stand today. So, Rose Hall today. Rose Hall Estate lies to the northwest of Jamaica, about 20 minutes drive from Montego Bay. If you look on this map, if you look towards the top left of the map, you can see two stars quite close together. One of those is Rose Hall, so you can see where it sits within the country. Now, I know as an audience, some of you will never have heard of Rose Hall or heard of Annie Palmer, and I'm sure some of you know the story very well. So I'm trying to cover both sides. This is a bit clearer. It shows the parishes of Hanover, St James and Trelawney, and you can see Rose Hall up in the top, quite near to Montego Bay. So this is Rose Hall today. It's fully restored and open to tourists to see the former splendour of this great house. I'm going to discuss the house briefly and what can be found today and what sort of information is provided before going back to how Annie became the legend that she is. But as you can see, it's a beautiful Georgian mansion house. It has cellars, it has 2 levels and the basement. And it's very open so that the winds from the sea blow through. In the 1960s, this is how the house looked. It had stood empty for decades. The beautiful handcrafted interior had been stripped away by tourists. As it crumbled, people just went in and took things away. Weather has ravaged the exterior and it was in a state of disrepair. Although in this image it does look like it's been in a fire, it hasn't. This is purely decay. And from another angle, this shows you how run down it actually was, and it really was just a shell. You can see the second floor is virtually blown away. The first floor, where you can just see 2 people in the middle, it's empty. It is literally an empty shell, but you do see the shape of those grand staircases at the front and the steps going up. It was bought by John and Michelle Rollins in the 1970s, who restored most of the main house throughout the 70s. There were 2 wings to the house, and this one shows one of the wings, but they were brought down. They decided that they were going to demolish those. But the main house was brought back to its former glory, with mahogany floors, ceilings, windows, doors, wood panelling. It's got silk wallpaper. There are chandeliers dangling from the ceilings, and European antiques decorate throughout. So it's very much of its time. But you can see the footprint here. And this is where the kitchens would have been and where the slaves would have worked. But it's very symmetrical. It's a very symmetrical the legacy of this, but you see parts of the old machinery and these beautiful constructed buildings with such a horrific history now being reclaimed by nature. They're being wrapped around by foliage, slaves as lovers, and then murdering them when she was bored. She gave severe punishment to anyone who displeased her, and she was known to have there's a whipping post allegedly outside, which the Rollins claim they've pulled down, which is where she stood in a window and watched her slaves being whipped. She met her end when she crossed a powerful man, a slave named Taku. Annie was murdered by Taku before the slave uprising of 1831, which led to the end of Rose Hall. So you're told this, and I asked many questions because by this point when I visited, I'd started to read other historical documents and thought some of this didn't quite add up. But these guides stick rigidly to their script. They do not deviate. If every question I asked, they just repeated part of their script. Annie is supposed to be buried in a tomb on the grounds, and this is it. Local folklore says that her tomb was meant to be sealed with a voodoo ritual that would imprison her spirit. However, the ritual was incomplete, and so 3 crosses are painted. You can see 1 white cross on the end, but there's 3 white crosses painted around with 1 side left open, and it was left open so that Annie's spirit can come and go as she pleases. And she's often said to be wandering the grounds and her horses are heard. However, when I tell you the story, you may question this. So what was the truth? To have a clear picture, I'm going to now give you an overview of the history of Rose Hall and the 2 women at the heart of this story. So this is the history of Rose Hall, not the fictional accounts that you'll be given on, if you look on any website, tourist information, tourist websites, visits to Rose Hall itself, the guided tours. This is now the history. This is a map from the 18th century, late 1700s, and in the centre top, this is how it would look, and it's forming her attachment to her friends and gave the most signal proof of it in the last moments of her life. This tribute of affection and respect is erected by her husband, the Honourable John Palmer, as a monument of her worth and his gratitude. So this evokes the love that he felt for her. And this on the left is the actual monument. You can see the inscription underneath it, but it's a beautifully carved memorial to her. And then on the right of this picture is the actual grave of Rosa Palmer. And this says, underneath this stone are deposited the remains of Rosa Palmer, wife of the Honourable John Palmer of this parish, who died the 1st of May 1790, aged 72 years. So there's no scandal. She wasn't murdered. Her previous 3 husbands died of natural deaths, which was not uncommon in Jamaica of this time. And so you start to question, well, if it wasn't her, who was it? John did marry again after Rosa's death. He married Rebecca Ann James. And when he died, he left her an annuity. She returned to the UK and she married again. She married Nathaniel Weeks and lived out her days in Sidmouth, where she died in 1846. So she never had the property, but she did have an annuity from the property. John Palmer died in 1797 and he left the property to his 2 sons, John and James. They never visited Jamaica as far as records show, and both of them died childless.
All right, y'all. So we about to go ahead now and get to the next video. I have one more of Annie, and then we're going to be moving on to Carolyn. That one, I just want y'all to hear a little bit more of the historical facts, right? Because these are individuals, you know, that do the research and they do like documentaries and stuff like that. So they really are reading from all of the books and the notes and all of the history of basically what, you know, goes around these individuals. So I wanted y'all to hear a little bit of that so you can see like this is historically true. Now I'm going to go ahead and play another video for y'all. It's a little bit more, it's a shorter one. It's a little bit more entertaining. We're going to go ahead and play that real quick. And after we get into that, we'll be moving on to Carolyn. So give me just a moment, you know, because I know history stuff, sometimes it can be a little bit, you know, boring, to be quite honest. But the history of it to me is pretty interesting. It just depends on, you know, how we hearing it. We don't want people to put us to sleep. We're trying to get turned up. So that's why we're trying to play some music and stuff for y'all as well in between, so we can stay awake, y'all. We're not going to sleep. So let's go ahead and get into this last one. When it comes to Annie Palmer, I have a few notes that I'm going to read through, and then we'll get into Emmett Till and Carolyn. All right, y'all. Give me just a second to get this up on the screen. Here we go. I'm going to meet y'all in the chatting.
Step into the world of Rose Hall, a stunning Georgian mansion perched on a hill overlooking the turquoise Caribbean Sea in Jamaica. From a distance, it's a picture of paradise, a symbol of colonial grandeur. But pull back the curtain, and you'll find a story steeped in both historical reality and Chilean folklore, a place where beauty and darkness are forever intertwined. Built in the 1770s, Rose Hall was one of Jamaica's most magnificent great houses. It was the heart of a sprawling sugar plantation, an engine of immense wealth for its owners. But this wealth was built on an incredibly cruel foundation. The sugarcane fields that stretched 4 miles were worked by hundreds of enslaved Africans, whose lives were marked by unimaginable hardship and brutality. Their forced labor, their suffering, is the true, undeniable story of this place. The very ground on which Rose Hall stands is soaked in the sweat and tears of those who were denied their freedom and their humanity. Now, let us talk about the legend that has made Rose Hall infamous around the world. The story of Annie Palmer, the White Witch of Rose Hall. As the tale goes, Annie arrived at the plantation as the young wife of its owner, John Palmer. She was said to be beautiful but possessed a dark heart. Versed in voodoo and black magic, which she learned in Haiti, the legend paints a horrifying picture of a woman who ruled her plantation with an iron fist and a cruel spirit. She is said to have murdered not one, but 3 of her husbands and countless enslaved lovers, burying them in unmarked graves on the property. According to the folklore, Annie's reign of terror was absolute. The enslaved people on the plantation lived in constant fear of her unpredictable cruelty and her supposed supernatural powers. She would watch them from her balcony, a whip in hand, ready to punish any perceived infraction. The stories say she used her knowledge of dark arts to control and torment those around her, creating an atmosphere of pure dread that permeated every corner of the estate. The legend concludes with her own violent end, allegedly at the hands of one of her enslaved lovers, who sought to avenge the death of his beloved and free the people from her tyranny. It said her spirit was trapped in the house, Unable Torrest, and that her ghost still wanders the halls to this day. This story of the White Witch is compelling, terrifying, and has drawn visitors and paranormal investigators to Rose Hall for decades. It's been the subject of books, songs, and countless ghost tours. But here is the crucial part of the story that often gets lost in the telling. There is absolutely no historical evidence to support the legend of Annie Palmer. Historical records show that a woman named Rosa Palmer, the original mistress of the house, was known for her kindness, not cruelty. The Annie Palmer of legend seems to be a complete fabrication, a composite of various figures and fears from the colonial era. Researchers have scoured the archive's birth certificates, death records, legal documents, and have found nothing to substantiate the claims of murder or witchcraft attributed to her. The story as we know it today was largely popularized by a novel written in the early 20th century, which took creative liberties and wove a tale that was more fiction than fact. So, if Annie the White Witch never existed, why does her legend persist so strongly? The answer is more profound than a simple ghost story. The myth of Annie Palmer serves as a powerful, albeit distorted, reflection of the very real horrors of plantation life. The cruelty, the violence, the abuse of power, these were not the actions of one mythical evil woman. They were systemic, a daily reality for the enslaved people under the brutal institution of chattel slavery. The figure of the white, which can be seen as a way to personify the abstract evil of the colonial system. It's easier, perhaps, to focus on the story of a single monstrous individual than to confront the widespread, normalized brutality inflicted by an entire class of plantation owners. The legend, in its own twisted way, gives a face to the nameless terror that thousands of people endured. It speaks to the deep psychological trauma and the power dynamics of the time, where the plantation mistress held immense authority and the lives of the enslaved were completely at her mercy. The fear she represents was a genuine, everyday experience. Visiting Rose Hall today is a complex experience. You can tour the beautifully restored Great House, admire the mahogany floors and silk wallpaper, and hear the chilling tales of Annie Palmer's ghost. The guides will point out the bloodstains that supposedly reappear on the floors and the mirrors where her reflection is sometimes seen. It's thrilling, it's spooky, and it makes for a great story. But as we walk through these grand rooms, it's essential to remember the real story. We must look beyond the myth and acknowledge the forgotten history. The true ghosts of Rose Hall are not the spirits of one fictional witch. They are the spirits of the thousands of unnamed men, women, and children who lived and died on this land. Their stories are the ones that are not often told on the ghost tours. Their names are largely lost to history, but their legacy is etched into the very fabric of Jamaica. So, when we talk about Rose Hall, let's remember to separate the fantasy from the fact. Enjoy the legend for the captivating folklore that it is, but let us honor the memory of the real people whose lives were the true cost of this magnificent estate. Their resilience, their culture, and their fight for freedom are the most important stories that these old stone walls have to tell. Let's remember them. Thank you so much for joining me on this.
All right, y'all. So that was just the final little wrap-up video when it came to Annie that I wanted to go ahead and play for y'all. But like I had talked about earlier, you know, and I don't know if some of y'all came in after that, the correlation is one of the things that's really interesting to me and important to talk about, because I feel as though, as we do, study history and listen to some of these historical figures and things and energies, right? And we pay attention to some of the things that we still see happening in 2026. Oh my God, the dog. Come on, y'all. Now I'm trying to sit. Big quiet no more. Sorry, y'all. This is my little puppy. He's running around here making a noise. So I think it's very important that we pay attention to the correlation of some of the things that have happened historically in the past and movements and energies from individuals historically in the past, and how in 2026, so far, far, far now, in our current day, but in the future from then, we are seeing a lot of the same energies and a lot of the same characteristic traits in individuals and things of that nature. And so I like to always bring the correlation to those things to the forefront when talking about history, because I do believe wholeheartedly that history does continue to repeat itself. It's just sometimes it looks a little different. It is, played out a little differently. It sounds a little differently. It smells a little differently. All of the things, right? But if we get down to the core of it, a lot of it is really actually the same. You know what I mean? Like, it's still happening over and over and over again. And there are certain individuals that fit themselves in those shoes and take a walk in those shoes and move and operate in those same ways that people from the past did as well. So the next thing that we will be talking about, which I said is the second person, and y'all, I believe all of us here know about this history with Emmett Till and Carolyn Bryant Donham. So we're going to move on to her. I got a few things I'm going to play as far as videos when it comes to that. But let's just go ahead and read these notes here to get through, a little bit of the historical background, just in case y'all didn't know. But I'm sure you do. So in August 1955, 14-year-old Emmett Till traveled from Chicago to Money, Mississippi to visit his great uncle, Mose Wright. He was a city kid who didn't understand the unspoken rule of the Jim Crow South. On August 24th, Emmett went into Bryant's grocery and meat market to buy bubblegum. Carolyn Bryant, who was 21 years old at the time, was behind the counter. Now, there's this infamous talks around the whistle. Witnesses say that Emmett let out a wolf whistle as he left. In Chicago, it was a joke. In Mississippi, it was a death sentence. That was the difference between the North and the South. Okay, so what happened after that? The gaslighting. Give me just a second, y'all. No more fighting. The gaslighting of it all and the lies, right? Okay. So this woman who felt as though she was disrespected, that a young black man or a black man, period, should never approach her, give her a compliment, just be so free the way he was free, right? Towards her. And so she went on to tell her folks and her people exactly what happened. And so they decided they were going to take action. So that led to a kidnapping. 4 days later after that, Roy Bryant and J.W. Milam snatched Emmett from his bed at 2:30 a.m. Now here comes the brutality part of it all. They took the young man and they began to torture him, gouge out his eyes, pow him, and also tied him to a 75-pound cotton gin fan to his neck and barbed wire before throwing him into the Tallahatchie River. Now, y'all have probably seen the movie or you know the history as far as the open casket. This was purposely done by his mother, Mammy. When his body was returned to Chicago, his mother, Mammy Till Moley, refused to hide the damages that were done to her son. She said, "Let the people see what I've seen." Over 100,000 people saw the open casket, and it ignited the civil rights movement. So let's talk about Carolyn Bryant Donham. There was a false testimony. During the 1955 trial, Carolyn testified that Emmett grabbed her by the waist, used unprintable words. This testimony was a lie, designed to justify the brutal unaliving of Emmett Till to a all-Caucasian jury. There was protection to her and her family and the individuals that participated in the tragic and brutal unaliving of Emmett Till. An arrest warrant was actually issued for her in 1955 for kidnapping, but the sheriff refused to serve it because she was a young mother. She was protected by her image, while Emmett's mother was also a young mother and had to be left grieving the unaliving of her son. The admission that came many years later in 2008, Carolyn reportedly told historian Timothy Tyson that part's not true, referring to Emmett allegedly verbally and physically advancing towards her. In the end, despite the 1955 warrant being found in a courthouse basement in 2022, which is just 4 years ago, a grand jury declined to indict her. She passed away in a hospital on April 25th, 2023, at age 88. She never had to face any justice for that lie that she told that led to that young man being unalived in such a brutal way. So what are the correlations? Y'all know I like to talk about that. 2026 correlation, the moves we still see. Family, Carolyn Bryant, she didn't just pass away in 2023. Her spirit is still active in our communities, and sometimes we even see on these digital streets. Here is what we are still seeing today. The protective mother shield. In 1955, they didn't arrest her because she had kids to raise. Very interesting. A lot of people got kids to raise. 2026, we see snakes in our community who do terrible things. They dox people, they lie, they destroy reputations, but when they get caught, they cry about their families or their mental health to avoid accountability. They use their statuses as a mother or a good person to escape from consequences of harm that they cause on others. Now we see a lot of people out here claiming themselves to be vigilantes, standing up for what is right. That only seems to be what they want to be when they start getting caught for their mean and evil and nasty energy. So this is how people weaponize false allegations. Carolyn knew that back in 1955, a white woman's word was law against a black boy. The 2026 correlation, this is Karen energy. That's what we call it these days. It's the woman who calls the police on a black man who may just be outside bird watching, or a black family that may just be outside grilling, claiming she feels threatened or unsafe or bothered. She's using the system as a personal hitman. In our YouTube communities, it's the person who makes false safety reports to get a channel deleted or demonetized just because they don't like the creator's opinion. The unserved warrant and the delays of justice. The proof of her guilt sat in a basement for 70 years. People covered it up. They knew it was there, and she needed to respond to that and take accountability for her actions. But there was a time, and there still are times, where certain individuals are protected, even though they are in the wrong. And people will hide, erase, make excuses for their dirty, nasty, disgusting behavior. How many times have we seen receipts on a fake person sit in the dark while the community keeps supporting them? We see the truth, but people choose not to bother it. The person, because they are popular or well connected. We have to stop letting the warrants of truth just sit somewhere in the basement or go overlooked. Emmett Till was a child. Carolyn Bryant was a grown woman who knew exactly what her lie would do. When we see people today lying on others just to win a social media war or a neighborhood dispute, we are seeing that exact same spirit. Mamie Till Mobley, the mother of Emmett Till, didn't stay quiet though. That's the most important part. She opened the casket and she showed the truth, the heinous truth. On this channel, we're opening up the casket on lies. We are showing the world that an unrecognizable face or the ugly face of these false narratives, they can no longer go unchecked, overlooked, and unaddressed. So y'all, let's go ahead and get into this video. That's just me giving my quick synopsis of all of that. I'm gonna check y'all comments in just a moment, but let's go ahead and get into this video real quick and listen to a little bit of this history, even though I know most of us know it, but I want to make sure that we don't forget it. And I want to make sure that, you know, our eyes and our ears are still open to the current injustices that we still are seeing even in 2026, whether it's on a social media platform or it's in the political sector and our government sector. Nothing has really changed that much. Let's go ahead and get into it, y'all. Meet y'all in the chat.
This is the muddy backwoods Tallahatchie River, where a weighted body was found, alleged to be that of young Emmett Till.
I saw a hole, which I presumed was a bullet hole, and I could look through that hole and see daylight on the other side. And I wondered, was it necessary to shoot it?
Here is Money, Mississippi, the home of Roy Bryant. It was here that the Chicago Negro boy, Emmett Till, is alleged to have paid unwelcome attention to Roy Bryant's most attractive wife.
When white women was on the streets, you had to get off of the street. That was a way of life. And all a white woman would have to say was, that nigger kind of looked at me, assessed me. So we're talking about a way of life that in this part of the country that was enforced by law.
This was the home of Mose Wright. It was from this shack the state alleges Emmett Till was taken by Roy Bryant and J.W. Milo.
The house was as dark as 1,000 midnights. You couldn't see. It was like a nightmare. I mean, someone come and stand over you with a pistol in one hand, a flashlight, and you're 16 years old. This is a terrifying experience.
The Till case held the whole system up for inspection by the rest of the country and by the rest of the world. It was the beginning of the focusing on the problems between the races in the Deep South that culminated in the ultimate civil rights battles of the rest of the 50s and into the 60s.
I think Black people's reaction was so visceral. And I think it was probably more than anything else in terms of the mass civil rights movement, the spark that launched it. Everybody knew we were under attack. And that attack was symbolized by the attack on a 14-year-old boy.
When one drives through the lowest hills and looks out at the sweep of those fields below, flat as a pancake as far as the eye can see, it's breathtaking. Those who have not been to the Delta find themselves gasping at the sight as they come over the lowest hills and see that expanse of flat agricultural land.
It was the summer of 1955 when Emmett Till arrived in Mississippi from Chicago. His family had worked cotton for generations, but this trip would be Emmett's introduction to the Delta, known as the most southern place on earth.
This is Mississippi. Today, a situation exists in Mississippi that is unlike the situation in most states in the nation. In some sections of the state, there is a preponderance of colored citizens. This situation has brought problems, it has created challenges, but most important of all, it has inspired a social system to meet the challenge. In every community in Mississippi, there is segregation of the races. Drinking fountains are segregated. Restrooms are segregated. The local theater is segregated.
You
Negroes
never,
sit in the balcony.
in any way, said anything that they didn't like. You didn't disagree with them on a whole. You just didn't do that. If a white person did something to you, you had no recourse at all. People disappeared. We don't know what happened to them. They just disappeared.
In the 75 years before Emmett Till set foot in Mississippi, more than 500 Black people had been lynched in the state. Most were men who had been accused of associating with white women.
Part of that culture was that the women were put on pedestals, and they were some sort of idealization of whatever it means to be woman or to be female. There was an almost irrational fear of Black men, as if every Black man was ready to attack or rape a white woman if you gave him the chance. I can remember when my father died, Sammy, the Black man who worked for him, was there, and I threw my arms around his neck, and he pulled away from me. He could not have that, physical show of affection or of sharing grief or whatever. Black men did not touch white women.
Many white Southerners, perhaps most Deep South Southerners, had convinced themselves that Black people were relatively happy in their segregated relationships with white people. Most white people, I think, had convinced themselves that this was a defensible social system in which they lived.
I had a cousin that was living in Mississippi and was walking down the sidewalk down near downtown in Tunica and didn't get off the sidewalk, and the man slapped him and knocked him off the sidewalk, and he got up. Instead of killing the white man like he wanted, he just started walking and never stopped until he got to Memphis, and never stopped until he got up to Chicago.
Oh, baby, don't you want to go?
Hundreds of thousands of Black people fled Mississippi for Chicago in the years between the world wars. One-way train fare of $11.10.
All right, y'all. So I have decided, I did play, a little bit of that. It was just about to the end. I will put all of the links in my description box to these videos where I get a lot of like my historical information and videos that I watch on a regular basis from. If y'all would like to check out their channel and watch some of these videos yourselves, you know what I mean? But what I'm going to do, just for respectful purposes, because this one, I think is more triggering and a little bit more dark and deeper emotionally, right? For some people, to have to bear witness to it, and you know what I'm saying, like hear about this all over again. it can throw off your energy. It can throw off your feelings and emotions. And that's not my intent for what I want to do on this live. I just want to come with this live with historical information and facts. And then I am talking about some correlations between the two. But because I do believe we need to protect like our peace and our feelings and our emotions and stuff, I don't want to continue playing on with this video because it is a little dark. It's the truth. It happened, you know what I mean? And we have to admit those things. We have to be able to look into the mirror and understand that like these things did happen. Like as horrific and as uncomfortable as they can make us, no matter what race we are or where we're from, what country we live in. It is hard to watch, but like you said, Asher, yes, it's hard, but it is necessary. You know what I mean? But I just didn't want to affect anybody's energy because I'm looking in the chat and stuff. You know, we're all getting along and having a good time, and everybody seems to be happy and laughing and stuff like that. And I just didn't want to take the energy down too low. So I will cut that video right there. Let's go ahead and turn up the energy, y'all. Let's go ahead and put on another song real quick so we can dance. Y'all let me know. I got 2 different songs I'm going to play back to back, okay? They got kind of like a Caribbean and an island beat type sound. So let's go ahead and get into those, right? So we can dance a little bit. Because when I be listening to these songs, y'all, when I play them, I'll be out here dancing too, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put on this one song that I think a lot of people said that they like and I love as well. Let me go ahead and get that one started. I did have a second video when it came to the Emmett Till, but like I said, like I don't want to bring our energy down too low. It is good. Like we said, it is good to know the truth about this stuff, but sometimes it can be a little bit much, and we all are going through a lot, you know, even in our own lives and stuff, you know, and it's just, I just thought that would be the responsible thing to do. I don't want to bring nobody energy down. People birthdays is coming up, the weekend is coming up, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I didn't want to do that to y'all like that. So let's go ahead and get into a little bop, something we can listen to that's got a good little vibe, you know what I mean? And let's dance for a bit, and then we'll come right back and we'll chit chat with each other. And if anybody wants to come up and talk, I'll go ahead and drop the link as well. Y'all can come up, we can chit chat together. Whether you want to come up on the panel and talk, or we just want to chit chat in the chat. Either one is fine, because you know I love talking with y'all. So let me go ahead and get this song on, and let's get our bop on. We'll be right back.
That's a safe bet. From the impossible to the it is done. The battle's already
They watching, they scrolling, but they living, man. Nah. They bitter and obsessed. We see it, we on press now. You watching every move, while we out here blessed facts. You bitter and obsessed, and the envy in your chest. We winning, no stress, two types, no contest. Lurking in the dark with a phone and a glove. Scrolling through our lives, but you show no love. Talk big online, in person, you hush quiet. All that fake fire, whole vibe just dust. Study every move like a test, you gon' fail. Tryna copy sauce, but it ain't for sale. Man, we leveled up, now you stuck in the trail. Rewinding our wins while your life goes still. Don't want peace, you addicted to hate. Every post we drop, got you checking the day. Building fake stories, yeah, you spit in the fake. We eating good, you just starving and playing. Fake, stress, we fake. You bust you stop, we next. Big difference, no guess. They bitter and obsessed. We see it, we on press now. You watching every move, while we out here blessed. Facts. You bitter and obsessed. The envy in your chest. We winning on no stress. Two types, no contest. Screenshot, zoom in, slow it down. Whole fam behavior, but you wear a frown. Clown. Say you don't care, but you lurking around. Cap, jealousy, Olympics, you holding a crown. Build your whole story in your head about a fiction. Turn our shine into your therapy now. Projecting pain and security loud. We move quiet, still stand out in the crowd. Yeah, you better don't twist it, we said it. That poison in your soul, you fed it. We up, we clear, no edit. Clean, you looping, same life, don't get it. Let them watch, let them talk. We evolve, don't stop. Energy, private side, straight to the top. You can't fake elevation. See shit, we on pride. You can't fake elevation. Obsessed. They trigger. They bitter and obsessed. We see it, we on press now. You're watching every move while we out here blessed. Facts. They're bitter and obsessed. The envy in your chest. We winning, no stress. Two types, no contest. Two types of people. Ones that live, ones that watch. Stay over there.
All right, y'all. So two little bops right there. A lot of times when I be making my songs and stuff like that, I will do multiple different sounds, right? Because I know that like all of us, we like different sounds, we like different styles of music and stuff like that. So sometimes I try to present, a variety of different sounds. So it'd be the same lyrics, the same concept, but I'll switch around the sound and stuff like that. I like that one. So that's Bitter and Obsessed, the same song that I played. Y'all know me, I like the bass and I like the bump, you know what I mean? So I can bump in the car when I'm driving. But I also like, like the island vibes and the smooth energies and stuff too. It just depends what mood I'm in. So hopefully I have a little bit of something that y'all all like and y'all all can dance to and vibe to. But let me go ahead and drop the link real quick. I'm gonna go ahead. I wanna read something for y'all. And I want us to have a real conversation about what I'm about to read to y'all. So let's get into some things right here. Okay, so now we know in this platform, this YouTube space, right? We often hear a lot of the time, right? The main thing we continue to hear very often now is receipts. But I want us to get clear on what a real receipt is, okay? Now, a comment, a message, or a screenshot of someone's opinion that is just a perception that they have based off of that said comment, screenshot, or opinion. People see what they want to see, and they twist words a lot of times to fit their narrative. So for me, I don't see certain things that people drop and they post or they expose to be a actual liable receipt. So remember now, we tying all of this into the live and some of the things that we talked about, right? So if we even speak on Carolyn Bryant, you know, with Emmett Till in 1955, Carolyn Bryant gave a perceived receipt. She told a story. It wasn't a fact, but it was treated as if it was one because of her status. We saw how that ended and how that turned out, right? So in 2026, we can't just settle for he said, she said. If we're talking receipts, we need legal, factual proof. We need documents of offenses. We need official reports. We need truth that holds up in the court of law, not just the court of public opinion. And that is something that has become really, really big that I've noticed, especially with social media. And even we see celebrities dealing with this as well. If it isn't a legal fact, it is just noise, okay? And we cannot let noise dictate our peace. Now, the logic when it comes to truth and harm, right? The why stay factor. I want to talk about something very real. When someone harms you so deeply that it leaves like a scar, when they weaponize a narrative against you, like what happened to Emmett Till or what the legends say about Annie Palmer, the natural human response for a healthy person is to get away and stay away. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into that because I know there are some things psychologically where people do have issues with that. And there is something neurologically and psychologically that gets tied into all of that. We're not going to get too deep into that today and talk about that. And again, I am not a therapist, so I won't speak on those things. But I'm just saying in a mindset of we just talking about YouTube stuff, right? Like if conversations is coming out that this people out here are so terrible to us or so terrible and nasty to us, and they treated us so bad. We can't stand this person. You know, the things that they've done are so terrible. I think that for most people, if those type of things happen, if it's even true, right? Because we know sometimes these things are just said because that's somebody's feelings and that's what they feel. It doesn't mean that any real wrongdoing has happened. But if that's how you feel, you would stay away from that person. You would get away from them. You would stay away from them. You wouldn't want anything more to do with them. If someone is truly as dangerous, right, as how these individuals claim and paint people to be, you don't keep them on your front porch or in your mindset for years. You don't follow their every move. You don't stay in their comment sections for 3, 4, 5 years. Like you keep it pushing, you get away from that person, you move on with your life, right? When you are truly harmed, you may even seek justice. You document your legal truths, if you have legal truths, and then you get on with your life. You protect your energy by putting distance between you and what you are so-called saying to be toxic. You don't want to be around toxic people. You don't want to be around toxic energy. So you get away from it. If someone has been dragging you for years, constantly poking the fire and staying in a circle of someone that they claim that has harmed them, you got to ask yourself, is this about healing or is this about drama? You see what I'm saying when I say that? So I'm going to read a message to y'all, okay? So, let me go ahead and pull this up real quick. I want y'all to listen to how this message was presented and what was said in said message, right? And there is a exchange of conversation going on here, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I know that a lot of y'all have been around for all of the things when it comes to the YouTube back and forth, and some of these individuals that we see that are out here talking and running their mouth and dragging things out for years and years and years and just won't give up or go away. So this is a message that was sent, and y'all know we talked about this the other day. And this person the other day, Snoopy, y'all know about Snoopy. Y'all see it. Y'all, I seen y'all in the chat. Y'all know what's going on here. And, this live just happens to tie into some of her energy, but it wasn't really my intention for doing it. I thought this was interesting to bring to the forefront because these history things are important. But anyway, moving on. If the shoe fits, sometimes people got to wear it. So this is a message from Snoopy to another person. The message says, who mentioned you? Firstly, fact check. Now they talking about, or this person, Snoopy, has gone out of her way to talk about somebody else's family, somebody else's experience within their said family, and their relationship within their said family. That's like none of this person's business. I don't know why she involved herself in the conversation. Now, the person who is commenting to Snoopy is defending and standing up for what is right when it comes to Snoopy talking about this person's life and family and experience, right? And busting that whole door wide open and causing chaos within this person's life and family. So Snoopy goes to respond to that person's message that's standing up for, I don't know if I should say the names. I'm trying to be respectful, not say, but y'all know. Y'all already know. So Snoopy says, who mentioned you? Firstly, fact check. It was a boy, not a girl. Jelly is lying. Y'all, we all know who Jelly is, right? Because we all hear his family. We in the same circle, so we get it. Her whole family has spoken on other platforms. It was her son there, also other CCs who covered this a few years back. And then she goes to talk about who these CCs are. Now, this is how she addresses Imani. And let's listen to this very clearly. She says, now, Imani, let's be clear. You remember your part 2 in the Discord, right? Now, listen to the triggering words. Remember what we just listened to when it comes to Annie and when it comes to Carolyn. How they just say things, whatever they want to say, whatever they want to do. She goes on to say, didn't Ralph have someone kids' pictures up? Mind y'all, this comment happened like a day ago. All of that stuff was resolved about like a year or more ago. But they're still digging it up and still trying to use it as ammo. Hadn't he abused women over and over? And you were complicit in that by staying silent. Now, when we're talking about these pictures of kids in the Discord, it's already been settled, okay? And again, when it comes to these pictures of kids, of the individual or the father of the kids that was in the Discord, mind you, this father is no longer with us. He is deceased. This is all have happened. Everything has been laid to rest. Why are we still talking about this? Everything has been cleared up. Now, the second most important part. Hadn't he abused women over and over? And you were complicit in that by staying silent. Now, when it comes to triggering statements and baiting statements of abuse, and we know how serious abuse is. There is psychological abuse, physical abuse, all the things. None of that was clarified. All you put out there is abuse. So now you are already painting a picture and a narrative that this is a man that abuses women. Where are the receipts? Where are the receipts of abuse? Do you see how, like, when you say something like that and you catcall things like that, it can end up in an Emmett Till situation? That's what I'm saying about all of it. Like, you don't get to just come out here and say things because you're in your feelings and your emotions that you know that can be dangerous and tarnish somebody's name, tarnish somebody's brand. That's defamation, where you're saying these things in comments, you're saying these things on your lives. Where is any of your proof legally, that any of these things are true? Or is it just more people that piling on their feelings and emotions that want to attest to the same thing? But this is not something that you take lightly and you can just stick on somebody based off of your feelings and emotions. If this is something that is legally has really happened and dangerous for someone, then there will be legal receipts. Where are the legal receipts of that? And then you go on to defame yet another person, who is Imani, by saying that she was complicit with it, which none of it has any receipts or proof. So you're now calling someone an abuser. You're calling a woman a complicit person who allows these things to happen. This has been said about me as well, right? Then she goes on to say, I suggest you do the same with me. Don't come here. As for speaking on someone's son, it is a fact. And then she goes on to talk about that. I hate this type of stuff, y'all. I really do, because it's not my business. It's not my business, and I don't like this type of stuff. But this is what's going on, and people are being hurt. And I am inviting Star. I'm inviting Lacey or Jelly. If y'all want to come here with me, if y'all want to come on the, you know what I'm saying, on the channel, on the platform or whatnot and talk, I really want y'all to, because this is like y'all, this is what y'all are going through, right? And I sit there and I watch it. I watch the hurt of it all. I watch the harm of it all. I don't like it. I don't like it. And for me to even be repeating it right now, it's making me uncomfortable, because it's not my business. And I wouldn't be someone out here talking about somebody's personal family life here on the internet like this for content, for views, for likes, for cash apps, whatever the hell you're getting out of it, you know? But I was just trying to use this as an example so you can see how dangerous these words that come out of people's mouth can be, and how they try to set up narratives to be what they're not. So she goes on to say, you know, speaking for someone's, you know, child or son is a fact. She's saying it's a fact. That's my whole thing. You're saying it's a fact. If the actual person that's in the family, the mother, the person who is experiencing these things is saying that's not a fact, why should anybody take it your word that it's a fact? But this is how she presents things. As if she has factual information about all of these things and people she talks about. It is a fact that she did this. I don't even want to say this part. All right. Hold on. I need to figure out something. As for speaking on someone's son, it is a fact that she left them, and it wasn't too concerned with them being chased by Anyway, that's it. I'm not reading the rest of that. Because like I said, like, yo, I don't like this type of stuff. I don't like, but yo, it's in these comment sections under the lives and under the videos that these people do. If they get scary, they'll probably erase them. If they're not, they'll still be there. Y'all can read through it and see what's being said. But this is an individual that's making accusations, stating and using words like this is facts, these are the facts, but has no legal evidence or proof for any of those things to be facts. That is what you perceive happened in that situation. But you are not an individual that was there. You weren't involved. You didn't witness it with your eyes. Like you didn't see any of those things. Like you were not involved in any of that. But to leave comments and stuff like that, to get angry at someone because a person with rational mindset and love and kindness in their heart is literally sitting up here and saying, what are you talking about? Why are you claiming that these things are facts and knowledge and information that you have, and you're not the person involved? You were not there. And you say you have so-called receipts. Where are the legal receipts? Like the hard hitting was really gonna like stick receipts. because a lot of people are getting confused as to what a real actual receipt is. A real actual receipt are those things that I just mentioned. A receipt is not how you perceive a message, how you perceive an encounter, how you perceive a conversation, what you think and what you feel. And a lot of times it's not even based off of what you think and what you feel. It's how you want to set up and spin the narrative or the image of what happened because you have some type of disdain or hate or anger against someone. So you want to paint the nastiest possible picture that you can. And then you sit up here and you tell your channel and your followers and anybody who will listen to you that you have receipts. Where are the receipts? We don't want no screenshot of a comment section. We don't want no screenshot of a chat. Where are the receipts? Be clear about what a receipt is, because this is why a lot of never mind, I can't even get all the way to it. I'm telling you, a lot of you people will not be taken seriously in the court of law. That's all I'm going to say, because you cannot come up there to a judge somebody you have certain receipts that are not actual receipts, evidence, or proof of anything. You're coming with your feelings and emotions towards someone because you don't like them. That's not a receipt. And then you want to sit there and use that as a receipt to smear, campaign, or defame somebody's character or name. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. Asher said, you may have a point. I'm reading y'all comments now, y'all. And then Iman said, you want to draw me out? I'll show you. Yeah, exactly. The nasty work that I seen Snoopy say to Imani in the comment section, and that's not even the nastiest of it all. It was another nasty message. Oh, let me, you know what? Come on, y'all. I have to. Because I don't lie. I'm not dragging nobody. I'm not trying to make nobody look no bad or no worse than what they make themselves look like. But this is the nasty work for me. Let me go ahead and see if I can find this nasty work right here. Hold on. This is what they do. It's what they do. It's what they say. And like, for me, it's just, and remember, everything we watched through on this live today, the audacity that people had, that they feel as though they can question or call somebody out for whatever reason. They think that someone even has to answer to them, but they can question or call somebody out when it comes to their background, their nationality. Like, that rubs me the wrong way. It really, really rubs me the wrong way. Because I have never in my life experienced none of this stuff. I really haven't. So I came over here on this YouTube and I seen like, okay, we know about being out in the streets in the world. It's privileged individuals out there and they move around very privileged, you know. Like they're the end all be all. They you know, they run the earth. Yeah, we've seen that in person. But dang, you come to the internet and you see these people acting and saying these type of things on the internet as well. It's like, hold up. Seriously? That's how I really feel. The nasty work of these people, like, I see the comment sections on the lives. I see the comments under the videos. I see all of it. It's disgusting to me. And my question is like, yo, exactly. My life is not for sale. Thank you very much, sir. And there's so many people that feel that way because this is something that's starting to become, what, a trend? That people's lives is supposed to be sale? Huh? Doctor receipts would be ripped apart by a lawyer in court. Thank you, Asher. Thank you. I wish these people knew that. I wish these people knew that. Yep, exactly. So why would somebody want to stop you from exposing corruption against families? You haven't asked for any money. You haven't asked for anything from anybody. Just to be heard for what the facts are and how these systems and these organizations move and they work. That's it. Why would someone want to silence you from that? You know? Children. Yeah, Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. Sunday is going to be a good day. Sunday is going to be a really good day because, you know, it's enough. It's enough. Enough is a daggone enough. And it will be discussed. It will be talked about. And all of the truth is going to come out. I just really don't think, I don't think that's going to be beneficial for some people. But you kept poking and poking and pushing and pushing. And so now the truth is going to come out. Period. Yeah, acts like she's the law, yet dismisses a cease and desist and says to shove it or whatever. Great respect for the law. And Snoopy, what about the children? Yeah. What about the children? Everybody seems, well, not everybody, but a lot of these type of individuals seem to forget about that. Ain't that what it's supposed to be about? Isn't that the most important thing? That's what they claim. That's what they say. So what about them then? Are we protecting them? Are we looking into what is actually happening in some of these organizations when it comes to children being safe? Oh, they screen recording. That's fine. Vulgar, and the profanity she constantly uses. She uses so much hate. Yeah. Lives is not a story for sale. Taking care of kids. Yeah. All of these things. Talking on someone having a child in the room while her child is in. Thank you, Blueberry. You know, like, come on. And then, but this live ain't really all the way about me. Like I said, it's a historical live. I want to bring some of that to the forefront, but I figure we can have a little chit chat at the end. But yeah, talking about somebody else having children, hearing their children in the background. That means my child is with me in the home with me. I'm doing a live. I also have my mother here. Everything's safe. So nothing is hurting or harming my child. My child is just fine. He's just a toddler. So they're going to be loud. They're going to make noise in the background sometimes. It's just what it is when you have kids. You know what I mean? The hypocrisy is painful. Person and talking about CPS on YouTube when her foster child is next to her. I could tell y'all the organization that's stealing kids, and I can prove it in a court of law. Yep. Tomorrow, we're going to do a couple of fire interviews. Watch this space. Yes, Iman. We got some things planned, y'all. Because some conversations need to be had. Yep. It's time to talk now. It's time to talk because these people just don't, they don't seem to get it. They're playing around. They're playing with fire. They're playing with fire. Right. Yeah. JJ do not be up at 3 a.m. No. Bedtime is 8. 8:30 at the latest. In the bed. Going to bed. During the day, like right now, it's 5:30. I started at 3. Anytime during these daytime hours, you may be hearing my son in the background, coming in and out of the room, getting the snack, needing this, needing that. He's not abandoned. I'm here. I'm gonna make sure he get what he needs. My mom is here. She gonna make sure he get what he needs. Make sure he's looked after. He's okay. This is what I'm saying. Like these people will just come out of their mouth and try to paint a narrative and a story about you when they know nothing about your life. They don't know your in and out, your day to day. They don't know how you move, shake, and drive, and operate in your own household where you stay with your family, with your children. So how you speaking on other people's business? I think that's the craziest thing to me. It's never made any sense. It has never made any sense. None. You don't get to do that. You don't get to sit up here and talk about other people and their family and how things work in their life. You're not there. You don't know. These people live far, far, far away. Far, far, far away. Is this Shrek or what? In the land of far, far, far away. That's where they live. And they want to talk about what other people got going on in their life. Nowhere near or close. Not even a friend. You're not even a friend of any of these people where you may come over sometime, you know, like maybe on the weekend, maybe after work, and you bear witness to what's going on with somebody else. You don't do that. You don't have that. So how can you possibly speak on any of these things? You can't. And that message was nasty work. I'm telling you, like, nasty work. Let me go ahead. I'm gonna read it because I want y'all to hear how nasty it is. This is what these people think. Like, they think they can just say whatever out the side of their face and their mouth to people and just be disrespectful. And I'll never understand it. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I want to know who gave these people the authority. Who give you the authority to talk to people like this and question people? Who are you to be questioning someone? Then when people start to question you, now it's the attitude. Let's see. So here we go here. So Snoopy says to Imani, what happened to your own culture? Baddies, D-sucker. You get a whole new nationality, Imani. Like, what do that even mean? But I love the response. And this is what we all are asking. Do you actually, and this is to Snoopy, do you actually know anything about Black culture? Obviously not. That's why you need to have several seats. The nerve of a Irish Caucasian person telling a Black person about their lingo and their culture. This shows you know next to nothing about culture, but yet your nose is always where it's not meant to be. Just really, who in the F do you think you are talking to? You are absolutely nothing. You know absolutely nothing about me. That's why you can compare a Black woman to the KKK and think the rest of us are supposed to be okay with that. I think that was a mic drop. Mic drop. Period. I don't know who these people think they are and where they get off questioning us. I remember also that it was said right. It was said that Maggie needs to go. She needs to get out. Get out of what? The Black tea sector? So you're kicking her out of the Black tea sector. What authority do you feel like you have to do that? And I know, y'all, how annoying it can be sometimes where we have to continue to have these race conversations. It's just as frustrating for me as it may be for some of y'all. And I hate to continue to have them, but the only reason that we do is because it still exists. It still exists. There are people that are still moving and shaking. You know what I'm saying? Like, they still moving this way. And as long as they keep moving like that, we got to keep addressing it and calling it out. Period. I don't understand what's so hard for people to understand when it comes to that. Like, As long as you keep being that way and giving off that level of energy towards us, then we're going to have to call it out and check you each and every time you do it. Very simple. Anyway, let's listen to this real quick, y'all. I'm going to meet y'all in the chat. I'm going to be quiet for a minute. I just want y'all to listen to this audio.
Include some violent descriptions and images. But we think it's important to do so that you can more fully understand what prompted so many Black Americans to mobilize and risk their lives in the pursuit of civil rights. These descriptions of violence also demonstrate how the threat of being subjected to domestic white supremacist terror hung over Black people in the South like a cloud that just wouldn't go away. Let's learn more about what happened to Emmett Till and start the show. In August of 1955, Emmett, who lived in Chicago, was visiting his uncle and cousins in Money, Mississippi. Emmett and a group of teenagers went shopping at a local store called Bryant's Grocery and Meat Market. This store, owned by Roy and Carolyn Bryant, sold items to mostly Black sharecroppers and their families. Some kids who were outside of the store later stated that they heard Emmett whistle at Carolyn. Later, Carolyn Bryant accused Emmett of making a sexual remark toward her and of grabbing her. And as we'll get to soon, this was a lie. A few days later, in the middle of the night, on August 28th, Roy Bryant, Carolyn's husband, and his half-brother, J.W. Millam, kidnapped Emmett from the home of his uncle, Mose Wright. Emmett's cousins witnessed the kidnapping. Emmett Till was then brutally beaten by Roy Bryant and several other members of the white community. He was taken to the edge of the Tallahatchie River, shot in the head, tied to a 75-pound metal fan that weighed his body down, and then dropped to the bottom of the water. 3 days later, his body was pulled from the water. He was so badly beaten and decomposed that his family could only identify him by the ring on his finger. Following the murder, Emmett Till's body was shipped back to his family in Chicago. His mother, Mamie Till, while emotionally distraught, made a decision that would reverberate throughout history. She decided that her son should have an open casket funeral. As she put it, "Let the people see what they did to my boy." Emmett's body was on display for 5 days at Robert's Temple Church of God. Tens of thousands of people came to pay their respects and to see in person the evidence of the violence inflicted on this child. But what made the name Emmett Till iconic was a powerful and devastating photograph that was taken by David Jackson, which captured Mamie Till gazing down at her son's ravaged and deformed body. The image is haunting, and what these men had done to Emmett's face was horrifying. The photo, along with others, were published in Jet magazine, and the images of Till's deformed face, alongside images of him before his death, smiling and looking like the child that he was, forced people to confront the terror that Black people in the South had been subjected to for a century. Mamie Till would say, quote, "I believe that the whole United States is mourning with me. And if the death of my son can mean something to the other unfortunate people all over the world, then for him to have died a hero would mean more to me than for him just to have died." This seems like an important moment to acknowledge why Black-led media outlets like Jet magazine and the Chicago Defender, both of which were based out of Chicago, are so important to telling and understanding the story of Black life in this country. These outlets told the sorts of stories that other outlets weren't always willing to. And during the civil rights movement, there were...
All right, y'all. So I just want to play just a little bit more of well, not a little bit more, but just a little bit of that video and that rendition of the breakdown. But again, like I said, I'm gonna put all of these links in my description box so y'all can take a look for it yourself if you desire to. I don't want to, play it out. We don't want to play it out. It's just a few things we just want to talk about on this live. So, I ain't trying to punch it in and, push. I really appreciate y'all for understanding. I really appreciate y'all for supporting, and I really appreciate y'all for coming to the live to hear me out on some of these things that we were just learning about together today. Some that we knew, some that we didn't know, right? And the correlation between the two. And as I'm looking in the chat, it's like, I'm not crazy. I'm not the only one seeing it this way. I'm not the only one who's, paying attention to the fact that something ain't right here with not just this individual, but some other individuals as well. These judge and juries that think that they can be up here calling the shots, think that they can be the ones that are running the sector, running the platform, telling people who can stay, who can go, who belongs and who doesn't. That blows my mind. That blows my mind. It really, really does. But anyway, let me go ahead and play this song for us real quick, y'all. I'm going to come back with my final thoughts. I always have an uplifting message to leave us with, because I don't want us to always be stuck in this all bad and, boop, boop, boop. We know it's pretty treacherous, but we're going to still remain positive. We're going to stay united. We're going to stand together. We're going to fight against this nasty work from these people, because you don't get away with that. You don't get to continue to keep moving and operating like that on this platform and manipulating people's lives, spreading their business, talking about their personal families, their history. Who are you that you think you can do that to someone? Who gave you the right? Let's take this little quick song break, y'all. I'm going to come back with my final thoughts, and I'll be right back.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let it ring out loud. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea, like the mighty waters. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. We remember it all. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Hope is alive, yeah. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on. Let's keep marching till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the casting in rock, but we're still here. Hey.
watching, they scrolling, they bitter and obsessed. We see it, we impressed. You're watching every move while we out here blessed. You bitter and obsessed. Yeah, the envy in your chest, and we winning, no stress. Two types, no contest. Period. You lurking in the dark with a phone and a grudge, scrolling through our lives, but you show no love. Talk big online, in person you hush. All that fake fire, whole vibe just us. Study every move like a test, you gon' fail. Tryna copy sauce, but it ain't for sale. Now we leveled up, now you stuck in a trail. Rewinding our wins while your life goes stale. You don't want peace, you addicted to hate. Every post we drop got you checking the date. Building fake stories, yeah, you feeding the fake. We eating good, you just starving in place. You stress, we flex. You watch, we step. You stuck, we next. Big difference, no guess. They bitter and obsessed. We see it, we impressed. You watching every move while we out here blessed. You bitter and obsessed. That envy in your chest. We winning, no stress. No types, no contest. No contest. Types, no contest. Types, no contest. Screenshot, zoom in, slow it down. Whole fan behavior, but you wear a frown. Say you don't care, but you lurking around. Jealousy Olympics, you holding the crown. Built the whole story in your head about us. Fiction. Turn that shine into your therapy. Projecting pain, insecurity loud. We move quiet, still stand out in the crowd. Yeah, you better don't twist it, we said it. The poison in your soul, you fed it. We up, we clear, no edit. You look the same life, don't get it. Let them watch, let them tell. You know, I'm top. Let them talk, we evolve, don't stop. Energy rise, straight to the top. You can't fake elevation, obsessed. Bitter, we winning. They drain trigger. They bitter and obsessed. We see it, we impressed. Watching every move while we out here blessed. You bitter and obsessed. That envy in your chest. We winning, no stress. No tips, no contest. No contest. No contest. No contest. There's no contest. Can't test. Can't test. Can't test. Two types of people. Ones that live. Ones that watch. Stay over there.
All right, y'all. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the live. I'll be dropping all of the links in this video in my description box. So to some of the videos that I play, I'll have those links, and I'm also gonna put Imani page in there for y'all as well. So y'all can go and follow her page. Hey baby. But I just wanted to give y'all just some final summary of words and thoughts and feelings before we get off this live, and then we'll go over and listen to Lacey. So y'all know we talked about a few things here. Haunted halls of Rose Hall in Jamaica to the dusty roads of Money, Mississippi. We looked at the snakes of history, and we seen how their spirits are still trying to whisper to us in our ears in 2026. But I want to leave you with this. The truth doesn't need to scream to be heard. It just needs to stand. We seen the moves. We seen the weaponized tears. We seen the false narratives and the digital spells meant to trip us up. But now that we have our eyes to see them for what it really is, the moves lose their power over us. So here's what we can do moving forward. When individuals want to hoop and holler about receipts, we'll be demanding the legal receipts. We're not going to be settling for screenshots and opinions. If someone's claiming harm or looking for the facts, we need legal proof. If it isn't documented truth, don't let it take up space in your spirit. Protect your peace by moving on. Remember, a person who has truly been hurt doesn't spend years hoovering over and still trying to remain in close proximity of their offender. They heal, they may document, they may talk about their life experience, but some type of growth is shown. The growth is the greatest evidence that that person didn't actually get to them or take them down. But a lot of these people are not telling the truth when it comes to individuals being people that have hurt and harmed them. So you don't typically see them moving that way. We also have to respect the journey. We do all have different beliefs, different cultures, and different ways of seeing the spiritual world and the physical world. That is our strength. As long as we stand on the foundation of what is wrong, and what is right, then we become an unbreakable circle. And to my peoples in the UK and all over the big, beautiful globe, to every one of you that's watching, you are covered, okay? No lie told about you can change the DNA of who God made you to be. You are a warrior, you are a queen or a king. You are the light that the darkness is trying hard to put out. Do not let them dim you. Go forth with your head high, your receipts in order, and your heart at peace. We aren't making it a race thing because that's really not what it's about, y'all. We're making it a truth thing. And the truth will always and has already set us free. So I love you all. Stay armed, stay dangerous to the lies. And I will see y'all on the next one, okay? Peace and light. Golden out. I'll leave with another bot, but let's go on ahead over to Lacey's live. She about to go live now. So let's go show her some love and support her as well for her live that is about to start. And that's the same when it comes to all of us in the sector, in this collective. Let's lift each other up. Let's show one another support. Even if we just pop in to say hi, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Make sure we are all loving on one another and supporting each other because there is enough to go around for all of us. We all bring something unique to the table, and we don't need to be fighting and going against each other. If we stand together, united as a group in a front, that is how we win the battle. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and leave us with a song. And let's head on over to Lacey's. Thank y'all so much, everybody who came to join and listen today. I really appreciate it. I will see y'all on the next live, y'all. Golden out. Bye.
Sickness spreads in whispers, and poison wells in corrupted corrupted. But a community with a strong immune system develops its own antidote.
This is the cure. Listen. Listen, there's a venom in the discourse, a toxin in the talk, a parasitic agent feasting on the soul of the block. It spreads through the timeline, infecting the youth, disguising as poison. In the fragment of truth, it preaches self-interest, promotes the individual dream. Anything to fracture the collective, to poison the stream. We see the symptoms in the envy, the distrust that you breed. You planting seeds of chaos, fulfilling the system's need. This ain't about a person, this is about a constitution. You're a weapon of division, a tool of social pollution. Like the agenda's getting bold. Why? Your people have been sold. Jig is up. You're the poison, the cancer, and the cold. You don't fight for the cause. You just lighten the load for the oppressed. Lie. Hear the conscience, see the fraud. Bye. Your whole damn act's a fraud. You're a symptom of the sickness, a tool of the trade. For every conscience that we take, you pull us from the shade back into the darkness. Fighting sister against brother while you collect the profits, then go poison another. You weaponize our trauma, you monetize our pain. Tell us to tear each other down for your temporary gain. You speak the language of the people with the motives of the state. Asleep a cell of selfishness designed to make us hate. But the body's getting stronger, the fever's starting to break. We can finally see the difference between what's real and what's fake. Like, my, the agenda's getting bold. Why? People have been sold. Jig is up. You're the poison, the cancer, and the cold. You don't fight for the cause. You just lighten the load for the soul. Yeah, the conscience, see the fraud. Bye. Your whole damn act's a fraud. But the antidote is unity, the cure is in the roots. It's the knowledge of the elders and the fire in the boots of a generation rising that refuses to be bought. Recalling all the lessons that our ancestors taught. We cleanse the foundation, rebuild the immune, to make the collective a garden where the real seeds can bloom. You can't poison a forest that shares a single source. We are the uprising, the unstoppable force. This is a conscious rebellion, a surgical strike to separate the healthy cells from the ones you're alike. This is more than a track, it's a call to the core, to protect the foundation of what we're fighting for. So let them have the clout, let them have the fake fame, while we reclaim the power that's attached to our name. Every word is a brick, every verse is a wall, to protect the community and watch the poisoners fall. So let the record show a community divided is a target, a community infected is a tragedy, but a community united is a revolution. In the golden rule, protect the people. Protect the people, people. Protect the people. Protect the people, 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 people. The people presence. Yeah. You thought you was safe? Yeah. You thought you was safe or good? Everybody looking for a home, looking for a click, looking for a place where the realness sticks. We out here building, trying to be free, but you just here to use them plain to see. I see you a user, a culture vulture, a leech, acting like you love the speech just so you can preach. You see the glow, you wanna get near it. You hear the soul, you try to engineer it. Wanna be in the circle, get the benefits, but you ain't put the work in. You just counterfeit. You a political operative, smiling in their face, just a snake in the grass, trying to take their place. We out here searching for a tribe, trying to be free, trying to live our best life, but the snakes stay close, wearing a disguise. Now you got mad, showed your true self, no surprise. You been popped, dumb bitches, read your rights. You been popped, dumb bitches, read your rights. Yeah. It's the activist in me that's gotta speak the truth. I'm allergic to the fake, been like this is my youth. See them in the comments, singing all the praise. Go sis, go, while they plotting in the haze. Plotting on a downfall, plotting on a spot, thinking they can use a light to get what they ain't got. But you can't use a mirror, you can't use a queen. Your whole entire persona is a fucked up scene. You a resource sucker, energy drain. They bring the clouds, we just trying to bring the rain. But we see you, yeah, we see you. Your little mask is cracked and now you cornered, about to see how you act. For a tribe, trying to be free, trying to live our best life, but the snakes stay close, wearing a disguise. Now you got mad, showed your true self, no surprise. You been popped, dumb bitches, read your rights. You been popped, dumb bitches, read your rights. These people don't care about your life or your struggle, they just wanna break you down and make your hustle tumble. Now we see the true colors at the core of these people. Their whole foundation is evil. We at war and we question these people. Golden has love for her people, and I've been trying to warn people. This is the ugly truth of the world. Watching all the snakes uncurl, here's the revelation, the part you should've known. A person's real character is when their anger's shown. You got pressed, you got mad, and all that fake ass love you had turned to poison. Jealousy and spite, they hate cause you that bitch and shining too bright. You ain't no friend, you just a hater in disguise. Walk past, head high, don't look them in the eyes. So here's the diss, you lost, you're done. Your fake support is over, your little game is run. You pop yourself, bitch, we ain't have to do a thing. Just sat back and watch you pull your own damn string. You been popped, you can't infiltrate this. Your mask is on the floor, go pick up your shit. We out, you kid.